Welcome to Networks Professionals.
Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. I'm so glad you're joining me today because, well, we're diving into something that is just absolutely fascinating. Right at this very second, while you're watching this, there's this unseen metronome out there, and it's perfectly keeping the beat for the entire digital world. Think of it like a silent, invisible heartbeat pulsing through literally every server, every smartphone, and every massive financial system on the planet. Today, we're going to decode exactly how the whole shebang works. So ask yourself this. What actually happens if the internet just, loses track of time? Because we're not just talking about your laptop clock showing the wrong hour and making you late for a meeting. Oh no, we're talking about absolute, catastrophic, immediate chaos. Millions of logins failing simultaneously, secure connections abruptly dropping out of nowhere. Massive global financial transactions would instantly fall completely out of sync. I mean, it would be literally impossible to figure out who transferred what to whom or even when it happened. Basically, the digital world as we know it would just grind to an absolute halt. Section 1. The invisible digital metronome. Okay, let's dive into this, because the environment of the internet is just inherently chaotic. You've got these packet-switched, variable latency networks where data is taking all sorts of totally unpredictable paths, traveling at completely different speeds just to get from point A to point B. It's incredibly messy, right? It's a really noisy environment. And yet somehow, right in the middle of all that chaos, there is this hidden force maintaining absolute order and precision. Meet our invisible hero. It's called Network Time Protocol, or NTP for short. Officially, it's defined as RFC 5905. Now, this is a foundational networking protocol that has one massively important job, which is to synchronize computer clocks across all those unpredictable variable latency networks we were just talking about. And it's not just syncing them to some random time, It specifically synchronizes devices to Coordinated Universal Time, or UTC. That's the absolute unquestionable gold standard reference for time across the entire globe. And honestly, the sheer scale of the microscopic accuracy NTP manages to achieve, it is just mind-blowing. Out there on the wild, totally unpredictable public internet, NTP can actually maintain synchronization to within tens of milliseconds of UTC. Tens of milliseconds! And when we zoom in a bit closer to local area networks, where things are a little more controlled, it hits a synchronization of better than 1 single millisecond. We're talking about a level of precision that is completely imperceptible to the human eye, and it's happening constantly right under our noses. And here's the kicker. It manages all of this so quietly. It operates seamlessly via UDP port 123. By using that specific, dedicated pathway, the protocol is constantly crunching numbers, running these complex algorithms to smoothly adjust for network latency. That's basically the delay when data is traveling around. Plus, it adjusts for something called clock drift. If you don't know what that is, it's just the natural tendency of your computer's internal hardware clock to run slightly fast or slightly slow over time. NTP just quietly fixes all of that in the background. Section 2. The stratum time hierarchy. So how does this hyper-accurate time actually reach us? Well, it's not magic, I promise. It's actually an incredibly structured system. Let's look at the mechanics of how this time flows down to our everyday devices, cascading almost like a giant digital waterfall. NTP relies on what's known as a hierarchical stratum system. It starts way up at the very top with stratum 0. These are your ultra-accurate, absolutely unshakable sources of time. Think atomic clocks and GPS clocks. They don't guess the time, they literally define the time. From up there, the time data flows down to stratum 1 and stratum 2 network servers, and then finally it trickles all the way down to stratum 3 and beyond. Those are the client devices, the laptops, the servers, the smartphones that you and I are using every single day. Now, you might be thinking, to keep a computer synced to sub-millisecond accuracy, it's got to need a massive, heavy stream of data, right? No way. NTP is an absolute marvel of extreme efficiency. It typically requires just one single data packet per minute. One. Think about that for a second. It literally takes more data to send a text message with a single smiley face emoji than it does to keep your computer perfectly synced with global time for a whole hour. It barely even leaves a footprint on the network. Section 3. Time is cybersecurity. Okay, we're going to pivot a little bit here because we really need to look at this through a more serious lens. Keeping precise time, it is not just about making sure your calendar alerts pop up when they're supposed to. In our modern digital landscape, time is cybersecurity. The two are entirely 100% inseparable. So the crucial point is that our most vital security infrastructures rely entirely on synchronized time. Literally built right on top of NTP are three main security pillars: log correlation, authentication, and network time security. Let's quickly break down exactly why each of these is so incredibly important to you and your data. First up, we have log correlation. Just imagine a network incident or, worse, a security breach occurs. Cybersecurity investigators suddenly have to sift through thousands of logs across dozens of different servers just to trace how the attacker moved through the system. Now, if the internal clocks on those servers are even slightly out of sync, the entire sequence of events turns into a complete jumbled mess. Accurate, synchronized timestamps are absolutely critical. Without them, you literally cannot piece together the forensic puzzle and properly investigate what happened. Then we have authentication. Let's craft a quick scenario for a second. Imagine you're trying to log into your company's network, right? But your computer's internal clock somehow thinks it's yesterday. Well, security systems like SSL and TLS certificates or Active Directory, they heavily rely on time to validate who you are. If the time is wrong, it's just going to flat out reject you. Access denied. But more importantly, highly accurate time prevents what are known as replay attacks. That's when a malicious hacker intercepts a valid login token and then tries to reuse it later on. If the timestamp on that token doesn't perfectly match the current highly precise time provided by NTP, the system instantly knows it's a fake and shuts it down. But this raises a pretty terrifying question, doesn't it? What if a bad actor decides to just attack the time protocol itself? Like, what if they start feeding fake time data to a network specifically to break its security? Well, that is exactly where network time security, or NTS, comes in. NTS provides this robust cryptographic authentication specifically for NTP. Think of it as a heavy suit of protective armor. It mathematically guarantees that the time data your computer is receiving hasn't been tampered with or altered by some attacker while it was in transit. Section 4, the global benefits. Okay, let's zoom way out to the macro level now. We've seen the microscopic mechanics, we've looked at the rigorous security side of things, but what does this unseen protocol actually do for our global infrastructure as a whole? And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why NTP is just so foundational. When we actually compare the old, chaotic manual approach to the modern reality powered by NTP, the contrast is literally night and day. Look at the operations side. Replacing error-prone manual clock settings with automatic, hyper-precise updates just keeps everything humming along smoothly. For massive global systems, instead of ending up with completely fragmented records, we get total consistency across entirely distributed networks. And that is absolutely critical for things like high-speed financial transactions, where fractions of a second matter. Plus, from a regulatory standpoint, doing time manually completely fails compliance. NTP provides the audited, undeniably accurate timestamps that modern regulations strictly demand. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with this one thought. In a world entirely built on data, whoever controls the milliseconds controls the security. We completely rely on this unseen, incredibly efficient protocol to keep our digital lives safe, synced, and operational 24/7. It really kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other invisible protocols are out there, just quietly holding our entire modern world together? Well, thank you so much for joining me today to decode the invisible heartbeat of the internet. Keep exploring and keep asking questions about the hidden systems all around you.
Thanks for watching.